Question and answer by L.G. Alexander. Lesson 45.
Guests for dinner. At 5:45, Mrs Allison heard her husband park the car outside the house and immediately went out to speak to him. "What's the matter, darling?" he asked. "You look upset." "I've made a terrible mistake, Jim," she said. "Mrs Johnson rang me up about half an hour ago. We got talking, and then, without thinking, I asked her and her husband to come and have dinner with us this evening." "Well, that's nothing to get upset about," Mr Allison said. "We should have a pleasant evening. We haven't seen the Johnsons for ages." "I'd like them to come," replied Mrs Allison, "but I've just discovered there's hardly any food in the house." "You didn't by any chance remember to buy some steak? I asked you to get some on your way home from work 3 days ago." "Steak," Mr Allison said. "Good heavens, yes. I remember now. As a matter of fact, I did get some. You ought to have reminded me about it. It's in the boot of the car. It's been there for the past 3 days. Answer these questions. 1. Who heard the car stop outside the house? 2. Did Mrs Allison stay indoors? 3. She went out to speak to her husband, didn't she? 4. What did her husband notice about her? 5. When did Mrs Johnson ring up? 6. What had upset Mrs Allison? 7. Did Mr Allison get upset as well? 8. Why was he looking forward to seeing the Johnsons? 9. Mrs Allison hadn't prepared a meal, had she? 10. Why hadn't she prepared a meal? 11. Did Mr Allison buy any steak? 12. When did he buy it? 13. He had forgotten about it, hadn't he? 14. Didn't his wife remind him about it? 15. Where had Mr Allison put the steak?